Hi there, Rachel Bradley here, licensed principal real estate broker in the beautiful state of Oregon. Today I wanted to talk about a rising trend that we are seeing in the real estate world, and that is the rise of a multi-generational homes. I've noticed in my business over the last several years that more and more buyers are asking me about multi-generational properties. Buyers are looking for homes that have a separate ADU or maybe two en-suites. And then I started noticing articles about it. So I said, okay, this is not just happening in my business, this is happening across the board. So obviously a lot of factors come into play there. A big one, of course, being financial. If you can put two families under one roof and they can each have their own living space still and a little separation, but you can avoid paying taxes on two properties and share that mortgage payment, obviously it can be very economical. I've also seen clients that just want to have mom or dad in the home to be able to take care of them, to avoid putting them in a care facility. So they might purchase a home that's kind of what would be called like a dual ensuite situation, where maybe mom has a master on the main with its own ensuite, and then upstairs you have additional bedrooms and another master with its own ensuite. So there are a couple different configurations that you can do, but let's talk a little bit about that. So if you just wanted a house with a dual living situation, that's going to be pretty easy, not maybe easy, but easier to find on, say, a resale property. However, if you are looking for a home with an actual ADU, those are, it's going to be a little bit tougher to find a resale home, but they do exist. There are properties out there. Another thing that you can do is you can purchase a house with two separate living situations from a new construction builder. I have noticed that builders are adding a couple of those types of properties in their new developments that they're building. Usually I'll see at least a couple homes that offer either two en-suites, or some of them, I just saw one last weekend that was even a separate unit. The units were attached, but it had basically an apartment on the side of it with its own kitchen, own bathroom, bedroom, and living space, and even its own garage. So then the main house had a 2-car garage, and the little side unit had a 1-car garage. Now the downside to a new construction build like that is that the lots tend to be smaller. Now, one thing to keep in mind that I like buyers to be aware of is when you're out there shopping, or let's say you drive by a new construction site and you just stop by, if you go into that new construction site unrepresented, meaning that you do not have a buyer's agent yet, you haven't signed your buyer broker agreement, and let's say you go in, you tour the homes, and you say, you know what, I really liked that property, we want to make an offer, let's go find an agent. So then you decide to get a real estate agent and bring them back to that new construction site. Some builders are not going to honor that relationship, if you will, and they will refuse to help you compensate your buyer's agent. Now remember that buyer's agent's commission is no longer a guarantee from a seller or a builder. And it's no longer, I guess it was never a guarantee, but it's no longer advertised on the MLS. So if you are considering a multi-generational property and you would like to shop builders, if you will, to see what's out there, always recommend pick your agent first. Sit down with that agent, explain what you're looking for, and let them do some of that legwork for you and find some properties that might be a match. And then start to go out and preview the homes once you have that relationship with that agent. And usually on that first meeting with the builder, it's a good idea to bring your agent with you. At minimum, at least have them call ahead of time and let them know that they're sending their buyer to them. Because a new construction home, there's a lot of moving parts, and builders love unrepresented buyers. They would way rather you just go in there and work directly with them, and they'll avoid paying a buyer's agent's commission, and they will also avoid having a buyer's agent in that transaction who's going to ask a bunch of questions and make sure that that you are fully represented. They would much rather you just come unrepresented. So it's definitely in a buyer's best interest when you are making one of the biggest purchases that most of us make to come with representation. So another way that you can purchase a home with, say, a dual living situation or even an ADU is obviously resale properties. They do pop up here and there, but they, when they do pop up, you need to be ready to act, because again, these properties are becoming in higher and higher demand. And so another way that, especially if you want a true ADU, say separate from the house, is to hire a custom home builder and actually find that lot and have them build you a freestanding home alongside an ADU. Now this process is a lot more timely. It could take up to 14 to 16 months to close. You're going to have to find the land. We're going to have to do all the permits and then get the proper lending for that, which can be tricky. You have to get a land loan, which is then later tied into the larger home loan, if you will. But these custom home builders, that's what they do all day. So they are there to guide us through that process. And if you go in and talk to one of them, again, have your buyer's agent with you, have them call ahead and sit down with them and answer your questions and maybe compare, the price. Does it make sense to just start from scratch and really build the type of property that you want? If you're okay with maybe a smaller lot, maybe you buy one from a new construction builder that's already planned out. They can tell you what lots could accommodate that particular floor plan that you're after. Or you could just look at resale properties and maybe find, a parcel of land that has an ADU or a smaller piece in, southwest, southeast Portland that, has that ADU maybe as a basement or maybe on top of a garage. So they do exist, and like I said, it's really growing in popularity. I think people just want to save money, number one, and they also want to be closer to family. People are realizing, are asking themselves what's most important for us and our family, and does it make sense for us to blend living spaces, or to share that overhead of what it costs to live in a house, to make life perhaps simpler and more economical over the long run. So if you are considering a multi-generational property, or it's something that you've dreamed about or you think might be a fit for your family and you have questions, feel free to reach out. I am always happy to help, and I'm always happy to talk real estate. Happy house hunting.